Hi, I'm Robert. I've discussed in other videos my journey with navigating through several mental disorders. I have a video discussing what I think about people who fake disorders on TikTok and how disturbing that is, and almost kind of insulting to people who really struggle with it. But during that video, I mentioned one of my issues I go through is borderline personality disorder, and I was starting to describe my experience with that and kind of got sidetracked into discussing some more things about my paranoid schizophrenia. But what I was trying to say is, in this video, I'm going to talk about my recent experience with my mental disorders. In the other video, I discussed the first 5 years, which were just a 24/7 nightmare. In about 2000, maybe 13 or 14, I switched doctor's offices after finding, a measure of recovery and healing. I got a little bit of help with the medicine they put me on, but they were really just always raising it whenever I would have an issue, and whenever I would sort of stabilize, they never considered lowering it back down. And it got to the point when they made some insurance changes and some policy changes at the doctor's office I went to. I had to find a new doctor's office, and I found the doctor I'm at now, and he looked at my med chart, and he was just like, pardon my language, but what the fuck are they doing to you over there? This is just like an unethical amount of medication they have you on. And I was starting to develop very potentially serious side effects. I was getting menopausal type symptoms. My testosterone was really low. People who develop these symptoms with this particular medicine, if the side effects aren't addressed, they can start to develop breasts and actually start lactating. So my doctor really wanted to get me off it. He said it just didn't seem to him that it was giving me the help that he would hope a medicine would be able to provide me. And he got me, I was kind of nervous at first. I didn't want things going back to the way they were, because at least I was okay with living. But he got me on a medicine that's just really helped me over the last several years actually start to manage to live and build my life. I'm 40 years old now, and I'm just kind of in the process of trying to build a life that taking steps most people get done in their early to mid 20s. And I try not to compare myself to others, because I know that my experience is different, and I shouldn't be ashamed of the fact that I had 15 years of my life stolen from me by an illness that just made me incapable of living a normal, healthy life. But when I was talking about my borderline personality disorder, I was sort of talking about the last 3 years. When I first started dating trans women, and started experimenting with my sexuality. First, I started experimenting with men and realized there was nothing there. But I did have an attraction that didn't quite fit with cisgender women. And so I met a trans woman, and everything just seemed to click, and it felt good. My family didn't react very well to it. I have a sister who's transgender, and they didn't react very well to her either. She's sort of just disowned the family, just cut us out of our lives. Even those like me who tried to be as supportive to her as I can, she basically just stated that she doesn't really have any interest in knowing or being a part of our family, and that makes me sad. But at the same time, I can kind of understand. But she is kind of, she goes off on how intolerant we all are, but she's pretty intolerant of us as well. She makes no, she gives no understanding of the fact that we see the world differently, and maybe we can give her some acceptance, but not the acceptance she wants. Like, she wants us to actually, believe and acknowledge that she is a biological woman, which my feeling is that is just not true. She was born a man. The very term transgender suggests that there was a transition, that she changed from one thing to another, but in doing so, you're just really just changing your appearance. You're changing, secondary characteristics. You're not actually changing who you are inside. There is a difference between a woman and a trans woman, no matter how much society likes to pretend that there is no difference, and that there is no real definition of a man and a woman. I just find it absurd, and I stand by that. And I'm in a relationship with a transgender woman right now, and she seems to be accepting of my views. And if she ever finds that she's not, then I'm not going to compromise my values and my just the importance I hold in valuing truth and reality, and not compromising the importance of it. I mean, with my experience with paranoid schizophrenia, I've learned a deep just importance in acknowledging reality. Paranoid schizophrenia is in a way a complete break from reality. So once I found reality, like, I'm never going to indulge someone else's idea and demand of me denying reality. That's not something I'm willing to do. So I can be supportive of people. I can understand that they feel different inside, and that they had to make a change with their body to feel at one with their body, and to feel like they don't feel alien inside their body, and that their body doesn't cause them mental trauma. I understand and sympathize with that, but I just can't. I can't do what I would consider being an enemy to truth. So, like, I would never shame anyone for not accepting a trans woman as a woman. I would try to be an example and hope that they can see that showing someone a kindness and giving them the love and the support that they need is maybe something that's not so bad. And but at the same time, if their religious convictions or their the way that they practice their adherence to truth, if it's different than mine, if they can't make that leap, I'm not going to shame them. I'm not going to call them a bigot. I'm not going to call them a transphobe, because I understand that people have different beliefs, and their beliefs might be different than mine, and in all actuality, our beliefs probably line up more than some people would realize. I just hold the belief that everybody's opinion on this issue is valid, and if it is coming from a place of hate and coming from a place of just like ignorance, like, of course I would speak out against that. But I think a lot of people are labeled as hateful, and it's just not true. They just see the world differently. They have different priorities and values and things that are important to them. And I just always ramble in these videos. I always just get lost in what it was I was trying to originally say. It's just an issue that is really important to me. My experience with my mental disorders is something I do hope to share in maybe a more organized and less scattered way. And I'm just getting used to the very idea of being comfortable talking to what could end up potentially being maybe a large audience. At first, it was a terrifying idea to me, as someone who was afraid that my every thought was broadcasted to the entire world. The idea of sharing voluntarily my emotions and my feelings and my experiences, it was really scary at first, and I'm starting to get used to it. I got some nervous tics. I think you've noticed I just scratch and touch my face a lot. It's just I would like to try to be a voice in helping this world heal. That's my main goal. And also helping people to understand that people in the trans community have real issues, and I don't know if many conservatives know this. I've heard the talking points. A lot of it I disagree with, but I don't discount it, because I realize that even though we have different views on the issue of the transgender issue, and like I said, many of our views do align, and maybe the fact that they align in the ways that they do, maybe, ultimately I might never find love in the transgender community like I'm hoping to. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I'm just wanting to finish this video by letting conservatives know, because I don't think many conservatives do know. They sort of hear that the suicide rate in the transgender community is really high, and that transitioning doesn't change the suicide rate. I honestly, I haven't conducted a study in this, but my own observed experience with it is that I've met several very functional, highly intelligent, highly emotionally stable trans women that I respect very much, who have found healing and peace with their medical transition. And my opinion on it is that anyone under 18 should not be allowed to a transition. They should be sort of guided in a way that would help them to feel comfortable with the gender they were born with. But I don't think anyone should be shamed with maybe finding it difficult to do that. And once they turn 18, I believe they should be free to be able to make the decision to transition. But I do know that it is something that has helped some people, and people mention the high suicide rate all the time in the LGBTQ community. I mean, we have to be honest with ourselves. A lot of conservatives are really intolerant, and they just they're not willing to make any concessions as far as helping somebody to feel good about themselves having made this decision. And me, I haven't transitioned. I've never experienced a disconnect from my gender, but I have suffered with struggles with feeling not masculine enough, not like I can't really connect with guys so much. I don't feel like I have much in common with them. I just feel kind of deficient when it comes to masculinity, and it's something that's difficult. But when I started dating in the transgender community, I wasn't trans myself, but I just started dating in the transgender community, and I received such a negative reaction to that I mentioned in a previous video. It drove me to my first suicide attempt in 12 years. I mean, there were other contributing factors. I'm not saying that it was the sole deciding factor in that decision, but it really is hard when your life choices are just met with such hostility and sometimes even anger. And if the suicide rate in the transgender community is high, you can't just assume that it's all on them. I mean, my sister, she's, I don't even know how she is. I don't even know if she's okay. She doesn't even care to let me know. It really hurt me, but when I broke up with my fiance, I hadn't talked to my sister in a long time, a very long time, and I just realized that I probably meant nothing to her. But she reached out to my fiance, who she did not know because my fiance lives on the other side of the world. And as far as I know, the only interaction my sister has had with my fiance was, just brief internet discussion, text messages, chats on Facebook Messenger or something like that. Like they barely knew each other. And when we broke up, my sister reached out to my ex fiance to make sure she was okay. Like I posted some stuff on Facebook where my sister is on my friends list, and she saw stuff I was posting and realized that me and my fiance broke up, and so she reached out to her, made sure she was okay, said, "How are you doing? I'm so sorry. That's so sad." And my fiance says she's okay, but she said, your brother Robert is really struggling. Maybe I think it would be really helpful if you reached out to him. And she basically said that it essentially didn't matter to her. Like her family doesn't matter to her. So she feels more connection with a stranger from across the world who shares um, the only thing they have in common is that they both suffer gender dysphoria. Apparently that's more of a connection to my sister than the fact that we are actually blood related family and grew up together. But she's really she hasn't gotten the acceptance she wants from my family, and my family has been pretty unaccepting of her, but I don't put all the fault on my family. My sister has been pretty intolerant as well. But I mean, there is a real effect to society completely shunning these people. A large part of society. Yes, there is a large part of society as well that celebrates and encourages and helps these people feel accepted. But when their own families, a lot of the time, their own families just reject them and shun them, and we can't pretend that that doesn't contribute to the suicide rate. I mean, I hadn't been suicidal for many years, and I wasn't transgender. I was just dating them. It really, when people you love and care about, and you thought they cared about you, and suddenly they reject you and just discard you and say hurtful things. My brother called me a faggot twice behind my back, and it's just, we got to acknowledge that we need to try to come together and try to heal this division and this. I mean, it's one of the main things causing the division in our society is this trans issue. And yes, there are radicals on both sides. My sister's one of them. I have other members of my family who are among them. There's just, we need to realize that we might not agree with people's decisions in lives, but we can still love them, and we still should, especially if they're family, and we should do the best that we can to be supportive of them. Try to make sure they're living healthy lives. I saw a talk show where this mother was just completely rejecting her daughter, her son's identity as her daughter. And I understood some of what she was feeling, and I understood some of what her daughter was feeling. I mean, her daughter didn't feel validated. Her daughter didn't feel like her mother loved her. But at the same time, even though some of her mother's attitudes were just completely, unhelpful and rude, and not showing that she cared about her daughter at all, but she had legitimate concerns. Her daughter was basically had all kinds of sexual promiscuity. She was being in the best word I can describe, sort of a hussy, and her mom was that was one of her mom's complaints. But instead of, she chose to focus on condemning her daughter for that side of her, instead of saying, hey, maybe I don't agree with that my son is my daughter, but she's made this choice in life and I'm not going to convince her out of it. But if she wants to be a daughter, then if she wants to be a woman, then I will do the best that I can to teach her how to be a strong, healthy woman, because that's what she wants to be. And I can't force my will on her. I can only help her. And her mother didn't make the connection in her head that that's the best thing she could do for her child. That was the best she could do. And conservatives were sort of celebrating this mother's rejection of her child, of her young adult, however you want to see her, son, daughter, whatever you want to see. She was not helping her child be healthy. And there's just so much that drives us apart. We shouldn't be looking for more reasons to drive further. I'm sorry, this is getting really long. I don't know if I have much hope for this issue being resolved and people coming together, but if there is a way, I hope to be a voice to be able to help us get there, and that's what I'm going to try to do, even if it keeps ending up that not many people are listening to me. Anyways, if you like my videos, like them, subscribe, share if you want. Thank you. Just thanks for visiting my channel. Bye.